This firmament, rakia, is an expanse. And in verse 8, God called the firmament heaven. Now you need to understand that the word heaven in Hebrew is always plural. It's the Hebrew word shamayim. Shamayim means heavens, or sometimes translated as heaven if it's referring to a singular part of that creation. The interesting thing about heavens, shamayim, is that there's three of them.
Just my ears deceive me.
Three?
right.
We'll get into that in a minute. But there's some things that we know about the firmament which
This is
God called
important for
heaven
my
to help
video
us
game.
understand what it is. And I don't believe at all that it refers to something that looks like this, or that it in any way necessitates a flat earth understanding. Basically, when God created the firmament to divide the waters below from the waters above, I believe it's referring to the creation of the atmosphere, which divided the waters below
Bum, bum,
from the
bum.
waters or moisture above. And I believe
It
there was
is
an extra layer of
our
the atmosphere that we no
it's
longer
our
have today
atmosphere.
that I believe
Then
came
it's,
down
you know,
in the
it's
flood.
the layers
What's
of the
interesting
planet.
about this atmosphere is the Bible says that God made it for the fowls of the earth to fly in. Okay, so this is where the birds fly.
So the
atmosphere.
ozone.
But remember how I said Shemayim has three different parts? Well, there's the first heaven, the atmosphere, where the birds fly. Then there's the second heaven, which is the universe, where we see the sun, moon, and stars, and all of the planets and everything. That is the second heaven. Then we have the third heaven, which is where God dwells. This is why I believe it's referred to in the plural as Shamayim. In fact, in 2 Corinthians, Paul says, I knew a man in Christ about 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, or whether out of the body I cannot tell. God knoweth. Such an one was caught up to the third heaven, meaning where God is. This is a biblical
Some
idea.
people believe there's
God's
seven,
dwelling
and
place
I believe that.
in the heavens. Hashemayim, plural.
You believe that the
First heaven,
universe, the
the
Milky
atmosphere.
Way.
The second heaven, the universe. The third heaven, God's dwelling place. And so, like I said, there was an extra layer of this atmosphere before the flood. The Bible says in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were the fountains of the great deep broken up. So the flood was not only from above, it was also from below. The fountains of the great deep broken up. And the windows of heaven, there's that word, shamayim, were opened. Did you know that before the flood, God had not caused it to rain upon the earth?
That's right.
There was no precipitation as we know today. It was
Until he
a
had to
mist
open
that
up the
God
firmament.
used from the ground to water all the vegetation. But when the flood happens, something new occurred that had not yet happened upon the face of the earth.
It
And that
is,
is,
Mama. I'm telling
the
you, I've
water
known this
started
my
coming
whole
down.
life,
I
though.
believe this is why it says that the waters below were divided from the waters above, which I believe came down during.
You have to think about our galaxy,
And so
the
what is
atmosphere, the
the
Milky
firmament?
Way. Then you
Well,
got
it's
black
kind of
holes.
related to the idea of the heavens. The first heaven being the atmosphere, where the
We're
birds
just
fly.
a science
The second
experiment.
heaven being the universe. As God says in Genesis 1 verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. What does this mean?
Come on, this
The
is
sun,
not
moon, and
crazy
stars are
shit.
obviously
This is
not
fucking
within
facts.
our atmosphere.
Science
But when
and the
God
Bible
set them there from the
agreeing right here, my
viewpoint of
friend.
mankind, they could see all of them in the firmament. They could see all of them in the sky. When they look up and see the heavens, they could see the sun, moon, and stars. And so this is not saying that God placed them within the atmosphere. It's saying that from man's point of view, that's where they could be seen.
That's right.
In the sky. And we understand the Hebrew ideas of firmament and heavens. It'll help us to understand what the firmament actually is. And if you want to see another video that I did from the book of Genesis, where specifically I talk about why I don't believe in the gap theory, I go into the Hebrew as well as compare other Bible references. You can check out this video right here.
All right. So, with all that said, y'all, I've been saying this my whole life. You know, there's another whole video about the firmament. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. It says why ancient civilizations saw a dome above the earth. The atmosphere, you know, people trying to figure out if the earth is round and all that bullshit. Let's see, where is it? Medicine for the soul. All right. So it's saved in my Mishine 222 at TTV. Here, I'll highlight it right here. It's on YouTube. It's called The Firmament, Why Ancient Civilizations Saw a Dome Above the Earth. And it's in Medicine for the Soul playlist. I don't know how to do links, and I set up my YouTube incorrectly, so I gotta fix it. Because I've got tons of playlists because I didn't know you could scroll. Laugh it up, Chuckles. I know that's funny, but I didn't. All right. All right. So that is that guy is Frontiers of Infinity. I'm gonna post it on my Facebook, I think, if it'll let me. Nope, it's on Mishines 222 at TTV. I mean, TTV on Facebook. I can't get into my other accounts right now. I was locked out. But I will tag myself in it. And I've got 1K, so I'm happy to announce I can apply for a creator code. Woo, woo, woo. Come on, let's hear it. Can I get a Yahweh in the chat for that? We'll put that there. And we'll... Morning Minutes with Mish. Well, of course, it's not going to say Mish. Live on Twitch daily. Come talk with me. I want to hear your ideas as well. I'm 47, and I have been asking about the firmament since I was 12 years old. And nobody, not one pastor in my whole life has been able to explain it. If you're bored and looking for something to do, come hang out with us and join. No, not enjoy. And join. Hashtag Yahweh Crew. And on Twitch. what are we? Post feeling blessed. Next. Post audience. Everyone also share too. Can't do it to my groups. Here we go. Alright. Alright, so that's on my Me Shines 222 TTV Facebook. And I'm going to save it to the Yahweh crew. I've got albums on there where I've been putting the things that we talk about on. I do morning minutes every single day. Sometimes it's just inspirational things. Sometimes it's more. But, alright. Let me go run to the bathroom. I'm going to play this video just for a little bit while I go pee. The sky was a lie.
Imagine standing beneath the night sky, not in the modern world of telescopes and satellites, but as one of our ancestors 10,000 years ago. The air is cold, the world is silent, and above you stretches a canopy of darkness pierced with glittering fire. It does not look infinite. It does not look empty. It looks solid. A dome. A vault arched overhead, its surface embedded with stars like jewels hammered into the ceiling of heaven. And for thousands of years across every culture, that is exactly what humanity believed it was. The firmament. The firmament was not a metaphor. It was not poetry. It was the architecture of the cosmos itself, described in ancient scriptures, carved into stone tablets, whispered through myth. Genesis declared that God created the firmament to divide the waters above from the waters below, a solid expanse stretched out like beaten metal, holding back an ocean of celestial water. The stars were not burning suns but lamps, hung within this vast dome. The sun and the moon moved across its surface like clockwork gears. To look at the sky was not to see infinity, it was to see the roof of creation. This was not only Hebrew belief. In Mesopotamia, the Babylonians imagined a cosmic vault, a hammered-out sky separating chaos from order. In Egypt, the goddess Nut arched over the world, her body the star-filled dome pressing against the earth. The Greeks would later inherit and refine the concept, building systems of spheres that cradled the planets, the firmament marking the outermost boundary of the visible cosmos. Everywhere you look in antiquity, the sky is not void, it is structure. But here is the paradox that grips us even now. Why did this vision of a dome above us endure so powerfully across so many civilizations? Why did humanity cling so desperately to the idea that the heavens were solid, protective, ordered, when the evidence of comets and meteors, wandering stars and shifting skies whispered otherwise? Perhaps the firmament was not mere ignorance. Perhaps it was something deeper. Humanity's first attempt to impose order on chaos, to draw a line between the infinite unknown and the fragile world we inhabit. Perhaps the firmament was not just a cosmology, but a survival strategy, a story to shield us from the terror of infinity.
Yeah, from evil.
Think about it. To imagine the sky as endless void is to face the unbearable, an infinite abyss above, indifferent and empty, stretching without end. For early humans, this was inconceivable. To live under a roof, even a cosmic one, was to live in safety. The firmament was our first wall against the horror of nothingness. And yet, the texts, the myths, the scriptures hint at something more unsettling. Waters above and below, windows of heaven that could open and unleash floods, stars that could fall from the firmament like shattered glass. Was this cosmology merely metaphor, or was it memory? Did ancient humanity encode in myth some experience, some catastrophe, that convinced them the sky itself was fragile, capable of breaking? This is where the story of the firmament becomes more than theology. It becomes mystery. Because even as science dismantled the dome, Galileo's telescope revealing moons of Jupiter, Newton calculating celestial mechanics, Einstein expanding space-time itself, the imagery of the firmament never died. It lingers in our language, in our symbols, in our subconscious. We still talk of heaven above. We still imagine the sky as ceiling, the stars as lights. And when we peer at the edge of the observable universe, when cosmologists speak of horizons beyond which we cannot see, are we not describing, in modern terms, a new kind of firmament? The firmament was humanity's first map of the universe. It was our first attempt to draw boundaries around infinity. And in that act we revealed not only how we saw the world, but who we were. This is where our journey begins. We will travel back into the deserts of Mesopotamia, into the temples of Egypt, into the scriptures of Israel. We will walk with astronomer priests who charted the heavens, with prophets who thundered of floods pouring through heaven's windows, with medieval monks who enshrined crystalline spheres in their cosmologies. We will follow the firmament as it rose, as it rained, as it cracked and shattered beneath the weight of science. And we will see how, in strange ways, it survives even now, not as literal truth, but as metaphor, as warning, as archetype. Because the question is not only whether the firmament was real, the question is why it mattered so much, and why we may still be building invisible firmaments of our own. Look up tonight. The stars do not look like suns scattered through infinite space. To the naked eye, they still resemble what our ancestors saw, a vault, a canopy, a dome. Perhaps we are not so different from them. Perhaps the firmament is not dead. Perhaps it is reborn every time we struggle to make sense of a universe that refuses to fit within our grasp. So the journey begins under that ancient dome, a ceiling hammered by divine hands, a boundary between chaos and order, the firmament, humanity's first map of the universe. But beneath the soil of history, questions whisper. Was the firmament only myth or memory? Did it protect us or blind us? And most haunting of all, if the firmament was our first attempt to explain the cosmos, what attempts are we making now? And will our descendants look at our models with the same mix of awe and disbelief? The dome of heaven waits. The journey has begun. The night sky has always been more than a backdrop. For ancient humanity, it was the greatest text ever written, a vast script stretching from horizon to horizon, its lines etched in starlight. And like any text, it begged to be read. By the 4th millennium BCE, in the river valleys of Mesopotamia, the firmament became more than myth. It became a map. Babylonian priests, the first astronomers, climbed ziggurats to watch the stars trace their paths. They charted their movements, recorded their risings and settings, and inscribed them onto clay tablets. But they did not see infinity. They saw precision within a dome. The sky was a machine, a vault hammered into place, turning with perfect order. From this vision came calendars, harvests timed to the appearance of certain constellations, omens drawn from eclipses, predictions of planetary conjunctions. The dome was no longer a passive ceiling. It was an active, breathing mechanism, a cosmic order that revealed both the will of the gods and the destiny of empires. To map the firmament was to read the divine mind. The Babylonians were not alone. Along the Nile, Egyptian priests watched the star Sirius rise just before dawn, heralding the annual flooding of the river. This cycle was so precise, so dependable, that it became the heartbeat of their civilization. The firmament here was embodied in Nut, the goddess whose arched body spanned the world, stars glittering on her skin. Each night she swallowed the sun. Each morning she gave birth to it again. The vault was alive, divine, and to measure it was to honor the order it embodied. Notice the paradox. In both cultures, the firmament was both divine and mathematical. It was a god, and it was a clock. It was myth and science woven together in the same breath. For these ancient peoples, there was no contradiction. To study the dome was to worship it. To chart the heavens was to serve the gods. But the deeper they mapped, the stranger the questions became. The Babylonians noticed that while most stars held their place, a handful wandered, planets. To them, these were divine messengers, deities themselves crossing the firmament's surface. Yet their motions defied the perfect order of the dome. Why did Mars pause in the sky, retreat, and then march forward again? Retrograde motion, a cosmic puzzle against the backdrop of a perfect vault. The firmament was orderly, but it was not simple. In Egypt, the careful alignment of temples to solstices and equinoxes testified to the precision of the dome. The firmament was not only a ceiling, but a ruler against which humanity could align stone and ritual. At Karnak, sunlight pierced sanctuaries on sacred days. At Abu Simbel, shafts of light illuminated statues deep within the temple only twice a year. These were not accidents. They were engineering feats guided by the dome above. The heavens had become blueprint, ruler, prophecy. And yet, beneath this devotion lurked a haunting question. Why should the gods care to write their messages in the sky at all? Why embed fate in stars, in eclipses, in planetary conjunctions? Did the firmament conceal as much as it revealed? To map it was to attempt mastery, but mastery of what? The dome remained a wall, impenetrable, unreachable. Humanity could measure its surface, but what lay beyond? This was the call to adventure. To read the heavens was to begin a journey into mystery, into a cosmos both knowable and unknowable. The firmament was no longer just protection. It was invitation. The dome challenged humanity to seek deeper order, to ask questions that stretched beyond survival. Why do the stars move as they do? Why do eclipses blot out the sun? Why does the moon wax and wane? Each answer, inscribed on clay or carved in stone, pulled us further into the adventure of cosmology. But this adventure carried risk. The heavens were not simply neutral data. They were alive with meaning. A misplaced interpretation could doom a king or topple a dynasty. A comet flashing across the dome could ignite terror, for it seemed to violate the perfect order of the vault. The firmament was not only map, it was omen, and omens carried consequence. Still, the adventure continued. From Mesopotamia spread the practice of celestial mapping, through Persia, into Greece, across the Mediterranean. Each culture inherited the dome and inscribed new meaning onto its surface. The call to adventure was universal, irresistible. To look at the sky was to be called into mystery, to feel the pull of the infinite disguised as order. Here perhaps lies the heart of the firmament's enduring power. It was not merely a wall, it was a mirror. In its order, humanity saw divine will, cosmic purpose, the possibility of certainty in a chaotic world. But in its anomalies, its wandering stars, its eclipses, its comets, humanity saw mystery, danger, the reminder that the vault might one day crack. This duality, order and chaos, certainty and doubt, is what kept the firmament alive. It was both comfort and challenge, protector and puzzle. And as cultures mapped it, they were not only charting stars, they were charting themselves. The dome reflected their fears, their hopes, their longing for meaning in the darkness. But adventure always carries cost. The more humanity charted the heavens, the more cracks appeared in the dome's perfection. Retrograde
We're
motions,
cracking reality,
irregular
that's why.
eclipses, unpredictable comets.
Our
Each
reality,
anomaly was a
anyway.
wound in the vault, a whisper that the
This is the
firmament might
Matrix,
not be as
that's
solid
what we
as
call
it
it.
seemed. And with each crack, the call to adventure grew louder. So the tablets were inscribed, the temples aligned, the myths woven into constellations. Humanity answered the call, not yet knowing that to map the firmament was to begin dismantling it. For in trying to measure the dome, we set ourselves on the path that would one day break it. The firmament was our first map of the universe, our first attempt to impose order on infinity. But as with all adventures, the moment you set foot across the threshold, you cannot turn back. The dome of heaven would not survive unbroken, and the next stage of our journey reveals how resistance to this call grew fierce, as guardians of tradition fought to defend the vault of heaven against those who dared to question its perfection. The call had been heard. The adventure had begun, but the refusal of the call loomed ahead. Every great journey begins with hesitation. To leave behind the familiar, even when cracks appear in its surface, is to risk collapse. And so it was with the firmament. Humanity had heard the call to adventure, had mapped the heavens, and measured the dome. But when anomalies began to emerge, when the vault's perfection faltered, many refused to let it go. The firmament was never just a theory, it was a worldview, a cosmology that bound society together. It ordered religion, ritual, and kingship. To doubt the firmament was to doubt the gods, the priests, the very structure of civilization itself. And so resistance rose, fierce and determined. In Mesopotamia, Babylonian astronomer priests clung to their celestial omens, even when observations grew troublesome. Retrograde motion, Mars pausing in the sky, retreating, then advancing again, was woven into ever more elaborate interpretations.
Alright, so I'm going to pause it at that. And there was one more thing I was going to tell you guys. Now I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Alright. So, Julius Caesar. Let's talk about Julius Caesar for a minute. Oh, here, I better let me make a stream marker real quick. Thank you, Good Wife Smallwood. I appreciate you. That's my mama, y'all. Give her a follow. Alright. Highlight message. Alright. I do not own the rights to any of this stuff that we've been listening to. I have to keep saying that so I don't get in trouble. But I just want to say, Julius Caesar, he is the smartest man and the best hustler in the fucking world. Because Julius Caesar, I don't know how to spell it, created a leap year. Not any religion celebrates the same holidays or the same beliefs or whatever. But Julius Caesar made an entire fucking planet. All of Earth believes in leap year. A fake day of the year every 4 years. An imaginary day every 4 years. And the entire planet believes in that. Now, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that happen? How does one make an entire planet believe something? It must be true in all their religions and beliefs. Make an entire planet. Whoops, I'm yelling. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to yell. I'm sorry. I don't need to yell. But I want y'all to... I'm going to clip that just so... All right. Well, it won't let me clip it. So how long have we been streaming? 20 minutes. So I'm gonna save the last